You shouldn't hit a woman in public, but if you really want to do it, identify as a woman, join the MMA and beat the shit out of her. The cancel shit gotta stop. Woke culture is way out of control. We wouldn't even be here, human beings. We wouldn't have even made it this far if it weren't for the fact that men and women are different. Society made these rules. We don't have to be the thing that we're born as. That's a social construction. Society didn't build you. Nature built you physically. It's a natural construction, not a social one. The problem is when you start trying to go down a path and change what you are, you're lost. You can change what you do, you can change who you become, and you can evolve. Riddle me this. Why do people still get canceled for wearing blackface, even if it was 20, 30 years ago? But you can wear a woman as a mask in 2023. I don't get it.
Misogyny.
I mean, what's even worse is that women are largely supporting this idea. It's fucking crazy. Seriously. I mean, we have examples like men who are sex offenders being sent to prison, and right before they go to, you know what? I'm actually a woman. I identify as a woman. Please send me to the female prison. I want a blood clot. Off you go, rapist. Go have fun. Like, what is this? Fucking getaway camp for grapists, or child molesters or whatever. It's insane. What are we doing? We're failing. We're failing as a country, and as a society. And then you got men competing in women's sports. Oh yeah, no, go right ahead. Lap everybody, No, yeah. You shouldn't hit a woman in public. But if you really want to do it, identify as a woman, join the MMA and beat the shit out of her. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Jesus. It's pretty frustrating. And what bothers me even more about it is that it's not only that women support it or that we're allowing this to happen, is that when I talk to people about this on a day-to-day basis or just, in regular conversation, I will say that the average person is not fooled by it, doesn't think this is okay, silently or quietly reserves their rational ability or their their reasoning capability, but they keep it close to the vest. And I understand that. I may not respect it, but I definitely understand. But what bothers me is that there's way too many people that I do speak to that completely support this idea. And if I'm being honest, which I am, I'll say that as Black people, we kind of failed. This is partially our fault. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, but you got to call a spade a spade. We are partially responsible. We can't not be responsible for anything. It doesn't work like that. There's a phrase that we all know, if you've ever seen a Marvel movie or anything, with great power comes great responsibility. Very popular term nowadays. But it's true. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay, so we want more power. We want more, we want our voice to be more heard. All of those things. That goes for men, that goes for women, that goes for everybody. Well, guess what? With that additional power comes more responsibility. And responsibility means making tough choices. It means accepting the fact that sometimes you might ruffle some feathers. Sometimes you might piss some people off. Not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to like you. I think that's something we all pretty much come to accept as we grow up. But we're living in this society now where literally the most absurd ideas are being thrown out there, and the majority of people in culture are not only just going along with it, la-di-da, they're defending it vehemently. Like, you're They're just toting the company line. Like, you're a bigot. How could you say that? You really don't, you must have a real narrow way of thinking about things. And, who hurt you? And, why do you care? Oh my God. Nothing pisses me off more than when people say, why do you care? Whenever addressing an issue such as this. Why do you care? First of all, that is the laziest argument you could possibly come up with. You know what? If people said, why do you care about issues that didn't, quote unquote, affect them, we'd still be fucking slaves, right? Oh, women, you like the right to vote? Well, you needed a lot of men to vote for that. So if people who weren't directly impacted didn't care, you wouldn't be able to vote. Nothing changes without, that's the idea at least of a democracy. Nothing changes without the participation of the group. So to use the argument, why do you care, in a democracy where we literally vote on issues because we all understand that we all live in this society together and have to participate in order for it to function in a way that benefits all of us to the best that it can, is so ridiculous and small-minded and ignorant. And the fact that the people who are making this argument or use this as a response and they think it's actually clever, they think like, yeah, but like, seriously, why do you care? You live in a fucking democracy. What do you mean, why do I care? Why do I care about anything in this culture? Well, I want to have kids and I want my kids to grow up in a society that has certain values and I want it to be safe and I believe in truth and I would like to be able to consume media that doesn't have the right to just completely sway the argument in a direction that will negatively impact everybody, because it's funny, we all understand, at least at this point, let me not say all, but a lot more people understand nowadays than used to, that what we consume on TV, on popular media, major network chains, things like that, it's kind of bullshit, right? It's marketing. It's a Coca-Cola ad. You see it all the time. And then all of a sudden, you know what? I want a fucking Coca-Cola. That's what it is. And for the most part, we kind of understand that. At least most people understand the surface level of it. Like, oh, it's all bullshit. It's all propaganda. Yeah, they get the surface of it. But they don't truly understand what that means, because they still allow themselves to be influenced by it. And there is a much deeper point to be made here that I would love to get into. I don't know if everybody's ready for it, but, if you do believe in or do even have any questions about some of the corruption that goes on in our society, which corruption exists everywhere. So I'm not demonizing or vilifying our culture completely. There's plenty of issues, plenty of problems we need to address, but corruption is not an American idea. But back to my point. If you do understand, and let's say you're patriotic and passionately want to contribute to the continuing betterment and improvement of America, and so you like to pay attention to what's going on, at least to some degree, okay. Well, because I know conspiracy theories are a popular thing nowadays. Well, we understand that there's corruption and that everything that we've always been told is not 100% true, or at the very least, it's biased to some degree. Okay. But then when new ideas come down the pike, y'all just eat it up. Like, you don't stop in that moment and think to yourself, well, the popular media and the ideas that we have been fed for all this time that we're waking up to, right? Those were all propaganda, and there was negative intentions, and we allowed ourselves to fall for it. But we're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe again. So yeah, let that man go play in the WNBA and average 75 points a game, and on 97% shooting. Like, what are we doing, man? Stop in the moment and just think about it. It's not about personal freedoms necessarily or rights. It's about living in a culture and a society that has their fucking head screwed on straight. These are things, there's certain things, I was talking to a kid the other day he's younger and good kid. And what was interesting to me is when some of these things came up, just to hear he was an open-minded kid and just to hear his perspective on what it's like. I think he was like 24 or something like that. And what's his perspective, or what's his experience like as a 24-year-old man, what it's like in that generation, and how they view some of these things. And, I was hoping to hear some sort of nuance, but it's exactly what you would think. It's like, oh, well, a lot of people kind of just, we do kind of understand what you're saying, but at the same time, we also believe that we've been socialized to be this way. Men were socialized to be men. We give them blue when they're born. We do the gender reveal parties. Blue is a boy, and girls get little Barbies and they play with pink stuff. And that's why they grow up to think that they're supposed to be girls, and boys grow up to think, no, that's not fucking true. I made a counterpoint to him. I presented a counter viewpoint, and it seemed like it sunk in. I remember when I was 24 years old, I wasn't that easy to convince on things either. So, but I did always listen, but I would have a response back and try to engage in a discussion and a debate and try to almost measure my arguments or my viewpoints against another intellectual, which is healthy. I think that's good. But the point is that I'm not expecting that I changed his mind, but he did seem to understand a little bit of what I was saying, because that is it's a lie. It's not true. So let me get this straight. So we were just non-binary humans, and then society came along and started giving kids blue stuff and rocks and manly things when they were little. And the girls, they, gave them little grass dolls and made them look like Barbies. And then, now we just have better versions of that. And that's why we became a patriarchy. And that's why women went into the kitchen. And just miss me with that shit. I can't even continue trying to come up with that ridiculous argument. It's so stupid. You know what the truth is? We wouldn't even be here. Human beings, we wouldn't have even made it this far if it weren't for the fact that men and women are different. We wouldn't have even survived. You think there was a secret society 30,000 years ago that took men and women, that put them in a cave somewhere, and like as a meeting, we're all, okay, everybody meet me at the cave. We're gonna have a meeting. From now on, boys are gonna do this, and the women are going to do that because they're better than you. Like, it was for our survival. It's genetic. Look across species. There are differences between the species. Period. End of story. There's differences in the species between the male and female. There's unilaterally, almost, with the exception of perhaps less than 2% of mammalian species, and I'm just leaving that open because nothing is ever 100%. But the it's statistically insignificant, but the overwhelming majority of the species have a male and a female dynamic. That's how you replicate. That's how you thrive. That's how you survive. Everything needs balance. Okay, so first of all, it's extremely self-absorbed to assume that, but we're different. We're not. We're actually, I believe it's either 5% or 0.5%. There's only 0.5% or 5%, somewhere in there. Extremely small percentage difference between human and chimpanzee DNA. So we're pretty much the same. We're like a little bit more advanced than them. And that little bit more advanced is obviously a large part of it is the frontal lobe and our ability to formulate words and all those, posable thumbs, all that great stuff. But the point is that we're not that much different. We're the same. We function on the same elementary fundamental rules of biology. That's how we're here. Okay? And so if we just bring this back, rewind this discussion for a second and just address the fact that the younger generation is actually being socialized to believe the opposite of which biology intended. It's not the other way around. Biology did not intend us to be asexual humans, and then society came along and was like, you know what? We're really dying out here, and the only way for us to live is if we take these two identical types of human beings, and we make sure that one has more rights and more authority than the other. And, they make the babies, so we'll just keep them over here in the corner and everybody else just come through and just fuck them. Like, it's so stupid, right? This is we naturally formed into these roles because of our genetics and our DNA and our instincts, and that's just the way it goes. And societies now, specifically in America, society has developed far enough to the point where there's enough security and enough comfort and enough development that we now can sit back and say, well, in my existence, in my experience, I don't actually need a provider or protector. This is hypothetically a woman speaking. I don't need that. I don't need that which my biology tells me I do need. I don't need it. I got the cops for protection. I can buy a weapon. I could freeze my eggs or whatever girls are doing now. I don't technically need a man. So the fact that society is still trying to encourage me to be in a relationship or tells me that's what I'm supposed to do, or that other people think I should be doing, or whatever, or the fact that I'm not doing it, and then people have an opinion on it and it's looked down upon. So then indirectly society is telling me I'm supposed to be doing that. That's wrong, because I don't need that. It's only you telling me that I need that. Because once again, society has developed to the point where you can even take that position, even though it's completely inaccurate. And the more troubling part is, like I said before, when this kid was telling me this, is that they kind of really believe that society is what thrusts this upon us. Well, we give them the blue soccer balls and girls get the pink soccer balls. And if we didn't do that, maybe in the next 50 years, we would probably, the next generation would have a lot more empathy and would have a lot more connectivity between them. And there wouldn't be so much judgment and hate, and people would be much more fluid on a spectrum of sexuality, because that's actually how it works. And it's like, no, wrong. We can do whatever we want. We can make that a reality. Sure. People have that ability. Right? We can go, that is one of the unique things about the human species. We can act against our own self-interest, and almost all mammals do not do that. They act in accordance within their self-interest for self-preservation, for the survival of them and their offspring. Perfect. We're not doing that. We're literally doing the opposite of that. We're encouraging people not to reproduce. We're encouraging kids to remove their ability to ever reproduce indefinitely. Done. No turning back. All based on this ideology that, well, it's a fluidity. There's a spectrum, and gender and sex. It's a spectrum, and society made these rules. We don't have to be the thing that we're born as. That's a social construction. So society didn't build you. Nature built you physically. It's a natural construction, not a social one. I could go on all day, but to bring it back to what I was initially talking about, I just want to end with this. Women, it's your rights that are being taken away. You think you're supporting, I know a lot of women that are not down with this, but for the ones that are and think they're doing good, it's your rights that are being restricted. You may not see it now because you think, once again, why do you care? We should let everybody do if that's what they want. You're thinking short term. You're thinking small. So yeah, maybe you don't care about the sports. It doesn't affect you. Maybe you don't care about the prisons. It doesn't affect you. But, when abortion happened, all of a sudden you care now. Now they're taking away abortion. Now you care. Now it's a patriarchy again.
Bruh.
Well, if women are supporting the ability for the patriarchy to have men pose as women and then push them aside and take their place in sports, in beauty pageants, as prisoners, where then women are now going to be subject to the reality that these men are physically superior to them. You can't then go blame the patriarchy. You're the one who's supporting it. It's your decision. This is technically, right, supposed to be a woman's issue. Men are not even allowed to, well, when I say allowed, I mean according to these women. Men are not allowed to speak on things like abortion or to even speak on reproductive rights, reproductive health. Men are supposedly not allowed to even have an opinion on it. Yet, men can become women. And you agree with, you're contradicting your own argument, let alone the fact that you're taking away your own rights as a natural born woman. I got nothing for you. It's crazy. And guys, and now the one other thing I want to say about this is for the guys who, if you're feeling if you feel like you don't belong, if you feel like you're looking for your place, maybe you don't identify as 100% traditionally masculine man, don't fall for the hype, okay? Just because it is true, I will agree, it is definitely true. Speaking as somebody who never fit into a box, right? My mother's Jewish, my father's Jamaican, I got this mixed biracial skin color, I have views that are all over the place. I never fit into a box ever. On any side. I had to find a lane and develop my own personality, and there weren't as many biracial people when I was growing up. It's becoming much more of a thing now. But so somebody who can speak from that perspective, I can tell you, don't let anybody tell you what you are. Don't let anybody funnel you into a direction of some new category that just because some of the ills that those people are speaking to resonate with you, that means that you're the same. Well, I heard people talking about some of their ability, some of their struggles identifying with typical men, and I was born as one, but because none of them really accept me, I'm not truly traditionally masculine. I have more of an emotional sensibility. That must mean that I'm like the other people who said that they felt that way and they did something to themselves. I must be that because I'm not this. That's not true either. The problem is you don't look or feel 100% like the group that you quote unquote belong to, and so you're trying to find another group to belong to, and that's where you go wrong, right? I'm mixed, right? Biracial, multiracial, multi-ethnic. I can't belong to another group. Even if I tried to belong to the multiracial, biracial group, that's a huge group with a lot of variation. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be, oh, well, the Jamaican, Jewish, Ukrainian, Polish, like, it's not going to work. I'm not going to fit into it. There's going to be like 7 people there, or even if there's a lot of people, it's just, we're not the same. I belong to what the group that I am. It's just what it is. I think it's best if you're trying to figure out what you are in terms of your, like, the things about you that you can't change, not who you are as a person, because that can obviously change. That's under your control. That's the decisions that you make. That's the path that you travel down. That's who you become, right? But who you are, the essence of who you are, oh, I'm a man, I'm from New York, right? Like, you can't be from Arizona if you were born in New York and lived in New York your whole life. You know what? That you might have moved to Arizona as an adult and you really love it here. You could say whatever the fuck you want, but you ain't from there. You were born in New York and you grew up there. That's where you're from. Period. You can't change that. Okay? You can't change your race that you were born as. You can't change the descendants that brought you, that you're descendant from, right? Well, you know, my family is German, and, you know, but I really don't identify with Nazis, and I think it's terrible what they did, so I'm disowning that. So I'm not German. Like, come on, man. You can't change that. So you'll find yourself going down a rabbit hole and a never-ending story, on a never-ending search for yourself, if you allow some outside anything, even if you don't assume that it's corrupt or that there's an agenda or anything. If you allow yourself to be influenced or indirectly told what you are, look in the mirror. That's what you are. That's it. And if you've already done something to yourself, then it doesn't necessarily qualify. I'm talking about a person who is just confused or trying to find themselves and hasn't taken any drastic measures yet. Good. Look in the mirror. That's what you are. You're white? You're white. You're black? You're black. You're black with this heritage. Your parents are from Trinidad and Guyana, then that's what you're, a black person whose family is from Trinidad and Guyana. You're white, but your family is from Italy, Sicily, which is actually very close to Africa, so they got a little olive skin a little bit, and your other side of your family is from Iceland. Well, then you're a white person whose family is from Sicily and Iceland. That's it. You're born a woman, you're a woman. You're a woman who doesn't have big tits and, doesn't like dolls and has a little bit more of a masculine sensibility, and maybe could even always beat the boys and a lot of stuff growing up. Well, then you're a woman who doesn't have huge breasts, who has a more masculine sensibility, and could always kind of beat the boys at things growing up. That's who you are. That's it. And then what you do with that story, that's who you become, and that's who you ultimately are as a person. But what you are is what you are, and there is no changing that. And that's okay. That is a beautiful thing. The problem is when you start trying to go down a path and change what you are, you're lost. You cannot change what you are. You can change what you do. You can change who you become. And you can evolve. But you cannot change what you are. That would essentially be traveling into the past, and we can't do that. If you could go back before you were born and change it so that you were born somewhere else or as something or someone else, then sure, you can tell me that you're now something else. Until we can do that, you're stuck with the way you came out. That's it. And the fact that we even have to talk about this I find it extremely pathetic, I gotta be honest. But, if there's one thing to pull out of this, it's that the argument is being made backwards. Society is not telling everybody that they're a man or that they're a woman. That's not society. Society is made up of people, and these people are now doing the opposite. They're trying to redefine these things, probably for their own self-interest or their own self-loathing. That would be my guess. But as long as the rest of us don't allow that to happen, don't allow ourselves to fall down that trap, then we'll be okay. You'll evolve. You'll eventually become that person that you were trying to find. And you'll realize it doesn't have anything to do with any of those things that people were telling you before. And you'll be extremely glad that you never fell for it. And while I'm at it, let's stop canceling people because they put some black stuff on their face a long time ago. Seriously, I think we got bigger fish to fry. It's really not that serious. Robert Downey Jr. did blackface in Tropic Thunder, and it's one of the funniest movies of all time. And almost every black friend I've ever had in my entire life loves that movie. They've either not seen it or they think it's funny. I've never had a friend ever who saw the movie and was offended by it. No, I can't watch that movie. I find it extremely offensive. It's fucking funny, man. Get over yourself, bro. For real. And even if you are offended by the fact that somebody did it, because some people did wear and do still, wear a blackface with negative intentions. So that's fine. You can be offended, but the cancel shit got to stop. Woke culture is way, 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 way out of control. It's got to stop. Stop canceling people for something stupid like wearing a blackface. It's a free country. You're free to hate whoever you want. Facts. As long as they did it at a party and there was a picture of it, why do you care? Gotcha, bitch. And on that note, I'll see you later.